Hello and welcome back to Too Lazy to Read, where we read the heavy so you do not have to develop a permanent shoulder injury from Russian literature.
And today we are entering The Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoyevsky. A novel so large, emotional, funny, holy, filthy, and legally stressful that it feels less like a book and more like being trapped in a family argument during a murder trial inside a monastery.
A tidy description somehow.
Thank you. I like to begin with emotional accuracy.
And emotional accuracy is essential here because The Brothers Karamazov is not only a murder mystery, it is a family tragedy, a philosophical debate, a spiritual test, a courtroom drama, a comedy of terrible manners, and a study of what happens when a bad father produces three very different sons and one deeply resentful shadow son.
Shadow Son sounds dramatic.
It is dramatic, but also accurate. We will get to Smerdyakov. For now, the promise is simple. We will go through the novel clearly, in plain English, without turning Dostoevsky into a university fog machine. We will explain the plot, the people, the ideas, the spiritual arguments, the jokes, the cruelty, the children, the trial, and the ending.
And we will try not to let the Russian names defeat us in public.
Brave words. Now, before anything else, we need one correction firmly nailed to the door. The novel opens by mentioning a gloomy and tragic death that happened 13 years earlier. That death is not Alyosha's death. Alyosha is alive throughout the novel. The death being foreshadowed is the death of Fyodor Pavlovitch Karamazov, the father, whose murder becomes the central legal event of the story.
Good, because if Alyosha were dead at the start, half the novel would become a very confusing ghost management problem.
Exactly. The narrator begins with Alexei Fyodorovich Karamazov, called Alyosha, the third son of Fyodor Pavlovitch. But almost immediately the narrator turns to the father. And what a father! Fyodor Pavlovitch is a landowner, but not a dignified old patriarch with wisdom in his beard and a candlelit study. He is vulgar, greedy, sexually shameless, clownish, and morally disgusting. The narrator calls him senseless, but very carefully not stupid.
Meaning he is not a fool in the harmless way. He is a fool with accounts.
Yes. He begins with next to nothing, lives like a parasite at other people's tables, behaves like a buffoon, and still manages to die with 100,000 rubles. So he is ridiculous, but he is also dangerous. Dostoevsky makes us laugh at him, then makes us realize he ruins lives.
That is a very real kind of person. Funny, until you are legally related to him.
So Fyodor marries twice. His first wife is Adelaida Ivanovna Musov. She is from a wealthy noble family, proud, strong, and rebellious. She marries Fyodor partly as a gesture of romantic rebellion, as if she sees a parasitic buffoon and thinks, at last, freedom.
That is youth, mistaking disaster for personality.
Precisely. The marriage is dreadful almost instantly. Fyodor grabs her money, tries to control her property, behaves disgracefully, and turns the house into chaos. Adelaida despises him. She eventually runs away with a poor divinity student, leaving behind their little son Dmitri, also called Mitya.
And Fyodor, being a father of exceptional moral quality, raises the boy with care.
No, he forgets him.
Of course he does. He treats fatherhood like a subscription he never remembers signing up for.
Sadly, yes, and so Dmitri is saved because Grigory, the old servant, takes him in. Grigory is severe, stubborn, religious, and not exactly a man of cuddly warmth, but he has duty in him. In Fyodor's household, that makes him nearly heroic.
Grigory may not give you a gentle bedtime talk, but at least he knows a child should not be abandoned like an umbrella in a tavern.
Right. So, eventually, Dmitri is taken by relatives on his mother's side. Pyotr Alexandrovich Musov intervenes, becomes involved in Dmitri's guardianship, then also more or less passes him along. Dmitri grows up being moved from one household to another, and most importantly, he grows up believing that his mother left him property, and that his father owes him money. So Dmitri's life becomes shaped by